What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Mind Something. If you're new here, my name is Jake, and in today's video, the crypto market is crashing and it's going down in a hurry. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the FTX buyout from Binance. We're going to talk about the 4080 gig, now being called the 4070 Ti. We're going to talk about Nvidia making a different chip for China. And then lastly, I want to talk about a video that Red Panda Mining put out yesterday talking about getting more efficient on Caspa. And there's some specific details that I want to go over. But before we do me a favor, hit the like and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Now, for those of you that have been watching the channel for a while, you know that I'm putting out content prior to everyone else. I'm doing the best that I possibly can to bring you this content and these important details before anyone else covers it. And I'm doing that while maintaining a full-time job, being a husband, being a father, and I could use some support out here, guys. We're growing, and if you haven't already subscribed, please consider it. So without further ado, let's take a look at the BTC chart. So right now, we have dropped from 21,500-ish all the way down to, we're currently at 17,797 or 17,800, but we did dip all the way down to 17,200, which is a lower low than our previous low at 17,500, which brings with it some unfortunate implications. It is more likely than not that we are going to continue to fall. And a lot of the experts are saying that we're going down to around the $10,000 level. I personally think that we're probably going to bottom somewhere between 12 and 14. But volatility is picking up, and I would expect a lot of swings to the upside, to the downside over the coming days, weeks, and months. So just be prepared for that. If you're trading, please don't use leverage, be safe, and be smart. Don't degen and just be prepared. And if you take a look at the entire crypto market cap, everything is down, obviously, but let's take a look at some of the other numbers here. So XRP is currently sitting at about 37 cents, down 17% for the week. Cardano is all the way down to 35 cents. Dogecoin down almost 35% on the week, currently catching a little bit of a bounce and recovered about 5% of that, and pretty much just red across the board with the exception of maybe Polygon. So yeah, it may get worse before it gets better, guys. Next, let's take a look at the farm. I wanted to see what would it take to be profitable across all of the different GPU mineable coins. And unfortunately, if you don't have 5 cents per kilowatt hour, you're not turning a profit on anything. Caspa would come in at 68 cents in profit on my farm at 5 cents per kilowatt hour. And BTG Gold looks like nice hash, ETH hash would net you about 35 cents a day in profit, but everything else is still negative, with one exception to that, actually. Something that's not listed on what to mine is Radiant, and that's been profitable for me ever since the merge, and I continuously switch between that and Caspa depending on if Caspa is profitable or not. But yeah, it's getting rough out there, and even Radiant at this point is a very, very small profit. I think at the moment it's about $2 a day profitable for my farm, so not a lot of choices out there for GPU miners at this point. Next, let's take a look at this FTX buyout. So I'm not going to read this entire article. The one thing that I wanted to highlight in this article is towards the bottom here, and it's a statement from CZ where he says he characterized the deal as a non-binding intention that would be the subject of due diligence investigations in the coming days. So essentially what that is a backdoor policy, and what he's saying is, you know, if we find a bunch of shady stuff that's been going on, if there's a hole in the balance sheet that's too large to overcome, the deal's not going through. And personally, I think that's what they're going to find. I think they're going to find a bunch of shady things that have been going on, And I think that the hole on the balance sheet is going to be significant to the point where it doesn't make sense to purchase FTX. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe CZ is the white in shining armor, or the knight in shining armor, and he's going to do this for the betterment of the whole crypto space, because the implications of this, if the deal doesn't go through, are dramatic. Regulation is going to come down hard. It's already going to come down hard because of this, but it could be even worse. So just a heads up, guys, it's probably going to get a lot rockier than it is right now. But next, let's talk about the 4080 12 gig, now being called the 4070 Ti. This comes from Video Cards, and it's a leak from Copite7 Kimmy, where he says the original RTX 4080 12 gig will become the 4070 Ti instead. And again, if you've been watching this channel, you know that this is what I said several weeks ago. That's what I suspected. It just makes the most sense, right? There is still specs for a 4070 that come in below what the 4080 12 gig variant was going to be, and so that makes perfect sense. However, the big question is going to be, what's the price going to be? Is it going to be $599, $699, $799? Obviously, they don't want to go with $899 as the 4080 12 gig was going to be previously, because it's not a 4080 anymore. But should it be $699 or $799? And if it were me and I was Nvidia, I would definitely go with $699, because that's only $100 over the previous 3070 Ti. And that just makes sense. However, this is Nvidia we're talking about, and they typically don't do things that make a whole lot of sense, so it's probably more likely that it's going to come in at $799, which is unfortunate, but we're just going to have to wait and see. Typically, a Ti variant doesn't come out for a while after the regular cards come out. So, you know, will they release a 4070 Ti before we get a 4070? I don't know. We're just going to have to wait and see. And speaking of Nvidia, we've got an article from Reuters saying that Nvidia offers a new advanced chip for China that meets U.S. export controls. And these U.S. export controls were basically put in place to make sure that China does not continue to advance in AI. And by cutting down the chip and providing them with something that won't be able to advance their technology much further than it currently is, Nvidia is able to produce something for them that can pretty much save their revenue, you know, without being able to sell anything to China whatsoever. That would hurt Nvidia by possibly billions of dollars. And so it says the Nvidia A800 GPU, which went into production in Q3, is another alternative product to the Nvidia A100 GPU for customers in China. The A800 meets the U.S. government's clear test for reduced export control and cannot be programmed to exceed it. So, you know, this may be a good thing. Maybe this helps Nvidia to stay solvent and we don't run into major issues with them. Obviously, if a large company like Nvidia were to go belly up, the implications would be massive. And so moving on to the last subject, if you caught Red Panda's video yesterday talking about efficiency improvements for mining Caspa, you'll notice that I've been talking about this for quite a while. We talked about using core offset with locked core and locked memory, probably getting close to a month ago, and the efficiency gain on his particular rig that he's displaying on his 30 series here went from 1689 to 881 watts. That is literally half of the power. And Red Panda Mining, thank you for the shout out, brother. That helped the channel extremely. I got a lot of followers after your first video where you had given me credit on how to mine Caspa. But on this particular video where we're talking about efficiency, there was one thing in the video that I want to recommend against, and that is the person who provided these overclocks for Red Panda stated that if you use BZminer to set these core offsets with locked core and locked memory, try switching over to LOLminer to see if you gain any efficiency. Well, first of all, I checked LOLminer to see if that was possible, and surprisingly, I can't even get LOLminer to work. I don't know if there's something up with my flight sheet, but obviously I'm pretty versed in these things in HiveOS, and regardless of which version of LOLminer I was using, I just kept getting the error that said waiting to cool down, essentially. So I don't know what's going on there, but regardless of LOLminer working or not, the reason I'm bringing this up is because, look guys, BZminer is the one that put in all of the work to make this possible for you. Not only did he give us the ability to set the locked core with a core offset, he also did this for 20 series, 16 series, and 10 series. Okay, LOLminer didn't put in the work. Why would you use these parameters in BZminer and then switch to LOLminer and give them all of your fees? It just doesn't sit right with me, and I wanted to say something about it. And Red Panda Mina, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to step on your toes, brother, but I want to do the right thing for BZminer. You know, if you gain 1% or 2% efficiency, are you really even gaining that? You know, there's you got stale shares, you got all these different things to consider, and you know the amount of work that goes into this for the development guys. BZminer is small in comparison to LOLminer, T-Rex Miner, some of these other larger ones, but he's the one putting in all the work. And you know, it's kind of like my channel. I'm the small guy, but I'm bringing all of the content faster and sooner, and I just want to give credit where credit is due. So if you're using BZminer, stick with it. Don't switch to LOLminer if you're mining Caspa or Radiant or some type of core algorithm or any of these other ones. And you know, as far as fees are concerned, LOLminer's fees are 0.75% for Caspa, and BZminer is 1%. So you're talking about a 0.25% difference. And like I said, I just want to give credit where credit's due. So that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you enjoy the content. Please support the channel. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you guys on the next video.